What's up, everyone? Welcome into the All 22 NFL Show, the official channel of the All 22 Fantasy Football platform. It's the only fantasy football game with full 53-man rosters, including offensive linemen, where you get to choose personnel packages and have access to PFF grading and advanced stats to make decisions each week. Today, Ray and I are going to be doing a film review of Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback from Indiana. And afterward, we're going to do a full breakdown of our thoughts on the quarterback and his prospects for the NFL draft, along with throwing in a lot of advanced stats from PFF. Ray, why don't you kick it off and show us what we got today?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. So again, to sort of kick things off, what you're not going to see is a highlight reel of a prospect. You're not going to see a low light reel of the prospect. What we like to do is study the film and then take examples of trends that we find in a player's game and highlight them as examples to you in these breakdowns. So the plays that you'll see here, some of them are great, some of them not so much. But what they do is highlight trends that we see in a player's game that really sort of define who they are as players and show us their areas of weakness, their strengths, where they can improve, and so on and so forth. So we're going to start off again with Fernando Mendoza, part one. I think we're probably going to do multiple parts of Fernando Mendoza here. We're just going to look at the Oregon film today, probably with more to come later on. But I like to start off oftentimes with the first pass attempt of the game when looking at quarterbacks. I want to see, are they being aggressive? Are they trying to get into a rhythm with a nice easy throw, taking what the defense gives you? How are they coming out? So again, this big game on the road against the Oregon Ducks early on in the season. We're going to go ahead and run it here. Mendoza, obviously the quarterback. We're not going to highlight him every single play because you know who we're dealing with. So they're going to have a late shift from Oregon here. And he knows he's got this blocked up perfectly. We'll get into it a little bit later, but watch the throw here. And I think this highlights everything there is to know about Mendoza's game, basically in one play. So at the top of his drop, he's going to go ahead, take that hitch, step up, throw the deep comeback, and just watch the ball location here, right to the outside shoulder of the receiver, away from the defender. Yes, there's a lot of separation at the top of that route, but even if there wasn't, the throw was placed exactly where it needed to be. Mendoza actually takes a hit after he throws the ball, and it's pretty much everything you need to see. He doesn't have like a lightning, just sort of howitzer of an arm like some others, but he does have kind of a Joe Burrow-esque arm, but his ball placement and timing is the best trait in his game by far. And so if you didn't notice, Chris, I don't know if you did either, Oregon brought 7 on this play. So you typically don't have this kind of time and pocket with 7 rushers and just 4 in coverage here, but he knows he has it blocked up perfectly. And he actually has his choice here of comebacks. He could take the hitch at the bottom of the screen that's a little bit cut off here because he could throw right behind this corner blitz, take the nice, safe 5-6 yard hitch to the receiver here behind the blitz, and live to fight a manageable second down. But instead, he knows that they've got this blocked up perfectly with the line slide to the right, the back protecting on the left side to his blind side here. The slot receiver going to hold the middle safety, so he's got one-on-one to the outside, and then he's going to go ahead and just let it rip with perfect ball placement to the outside. And instead of a gain of 6, he's got a gain of about 16, 17 there. So you're going to see it from this angle here again. He knows where he's going the entire time, steps up into the throw, takes the hit, and just look at that placement. So that's a great way to sort of set the tone to begin the game on the road. Didn't take the safe throw, which would have been perfectly fine, but knows when to take chances and has the timing and accuracy to still not put the ball in harm's way while waiting for a deeper route to develop against a pretty aggressive pressure call from the defense.
We always talk about how a lot of times the success of an offensive line is somewhat owed to the quarterback behind it. I like veteran quarterbacks in the NFL because the offensive line that typically comes along with them will take a step forward. I think it says something how great this offensive line was in Indiana about maybe Fernando Mendoza and his ability to read things pre-snap and call things out. And there's a lot of veterans on that line as well. But I do think that you're right? He knew what he had in protection. He felt comfortable staying in there and making this throw. I think the processing happens fast. This was probably a little bit predetermined throw, right? I see a lot of first read throws in his game, so I'm happy you kind of threw this one in there. But it was exactly what we like. And you mentioned it, right? It's not the best arm in the NFL, but that is a hash-to-hash throw that that is an NFL throw, right? So definitely like what I saw in play one.
Yep. So we're going to go ahead, go to the second play here. And this is one, it's a bit of a concern. It's not as big of a concern as I have with many other quarterbacks in the league, but this is one here that sometimes his pocket presence is just average. It's not bad. It's not fantastic all the time anyway. Sometimes it's just average. So we're going to run this here, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit. So get another play fake here. You're going to see him bail to the right a little bit. Okay, throw away, live to fight another day. That's perfectly fine. If it's not there, you want your quarterback to throw it away. But watch here, and you're going to especially see it from the other angle. But you're going to see the field side is locked up pretty early on here. The corner has outside leverage to this receiver, and he's got safety help over the top to the inside. So it's just not there from the start. And Mendoza, there's some pressure to his blind side here, and he's going to roll right. But it's still not there because, again, the corner had the outside leverage with safety help inside. So he has no reason to give up that leverage. So even though Mendoza's buying some time, the corner is just not there, and he eventually throws it away. If he steps up instead of stepping out in this pocket right here, he can see this corner, this 7 route right here to the boundary flash. And he steps up and gets rid of the ball at the break. The defender's hips are turned right here. He's got a winning break right here. If he can step up and go backside to the boundary and get rid of this ball towards the front pylon of the end zone. Instead, he flushes away from the pressure, and it's a throwaway. He felt the pressure, which is good. You want to feel the pressure, but he had the ability to step up in the pocket and buy himself a little bit of time. And then if it wasn't there to the backside of the play, just go ahead and chuck it into the second row, in the area of the receiver and avoid the penalty. So you'll see it here from this angle again. Perfect opportunity to step up instead of stepping out. And then one thing we'll notice, Chris, I'm going to go back to this a little bit later on. Watch the eyes right here. They kind of drop a little bit as he exits the pocket for a quick second before going back up and then throwing the ball away. We'll get to that again later on because you see it more than once in a different play that's highlighted in this sequence. But again, I think there's an opportunity for him to step up oftentimes as opposed to stepping out. And every now and again, he may miss a throw or two because of that.
Yeah, there were two major things that I noticed on this play that stood out to me, right? One, it goes back to what I said before about, I think a lot of what we see is predetermined script, and his predetermined script was, I need to go look this way. And that's what he did, right? Even though the pocket was giving him something else and the play was giving him something else altogether, I think it was predetermined what he was meant to do, right? We could talk about how the mental acumen is there, right? And how maybe some coaches think of this as a positive, right? Because he's following maybe the directions of the coach, the offensive coordinator. But to me, I want a quarterback that can create on his own as well and is comfortable doing that. I think the second part is there's a big debate going on right now about his athleticism. When I watch him play on predetermined runs, again, I think he trusts it, and it's acceptable. I want to say, I don't want to say it's anything more than that, but it's at least acceptable. It may not be as acceptable at the NFL level, but in college, it was definitely acceptable. I think when there's plays like this where the pocket starts getting a little trippy, I don't know if he trusts his athleticism. And I think that's a big reason why I saw continuously in his game situations like this happen where he's bailing a little bit too quick. He's moving into pressure in a way that I wouldn't expect him to. Is it just that he doesn't trust his athleticism and he doesn't feel comfortable with his body and the way that his body moves? He's a big, long dude, right? Like, this is a really tall quarterback. There's not many quarterbacks in the NFL with his height. I think it's something we're going to see as a concern in his game.
Yeah, let's keep going. We got some plays for that too. Third play here. We're going to talk about it. You mentioned it. You touched on it a couple of times. The quick decision making here. I really don't like this play concept overall. The spacing concept is probably my least favorite passing concept in the entire game of football because I think smart defenses can react pretty darn quickly to it. And plaster and quarterbacks have to be very quick with their decision making. But Mendoza is very quick with his decision making here. So we're going to let it run and talk about it. But again, here you got 2x2, quick spacing here. It's ho-hum, right? What, gain of 6, 1st and 10. Just kind of takes what the defense gives him, right? But the decision-making is lightning quick here, and I think they have a pretty good defense called for this play. It's not really supposed to work against sort of 2 deep coverage with 5 underneath defenders here. You kind of got a bit of a roamer here with Thieneman here for Oregon. But quickly, he's going to take a look to see if the corner here is going to bail into deep third. He doesn't. He takes the flat here. He takes the flat and covers the out. The hook curl defender here takes away the slot. He immediately comes back and knows that there's not enough time for this defender here to drive onto this route over the middle here as this backer is fanned out from the curl to the backside. So he immediately, once he sees these two locked up, he's just going to go ahead, take what the defense gives him. Nice throw right into the chest plate of the receiver. And hey, you got 6 yards on 1st and 10. You'll take that every single time. But that throws out at what, 2 Mississippi, if that. So the timing is there. He can make quick decisions to get rid of the ball when he sees it and knows where the play is going.
Yeah, this is the intellect part that we were talking about, right? Like he knew what the play was meant to be. He knew where his receivers were going to be. And there's almost like an elementary school level of field reading in this, right? You see his eyes go left before they go middle. He did go through a bit of a progression, and that's what you want to see, right? Obviously, there's a couple curls happening in front of him. It's not difficult. The situation was made easy for him, but he still had to do it. And he did it really well on this play, got the ball out quick. Again, it's telling the story of who this guy is as a quarterback.
Yep. Exactly. So I think this next one is going to be pretty darn quick. I just figured we'll show it because I don't know. I just kind of liked it, but we're going to see again, just another deep out throw from the opposite hash. Perfect location. Yeah. A lot of separation again, but if the corner was over here instead of, 3.5, 4 yards away from the receiver, the ball is still thrown to the outside. The receiver does a nice job coming back to the ball. I think that's Surratt there, who's incredibly quarterback friendly. And boom, 10 yards, 1st down. Not much to it. I just like the timing of his drop. Again, not an elite arm. It didn't just zip in there like a rocket, but receiver gets separation. The timing is on point where even if the receiver didn't get a lot of separation, the ball's thrown where it needs to be, when it needs to be thrown. And it's a nice completion to just keep the chains moving and keep the offense in rhythm. It's just a boring way to just kind of give the opponent death by 1,000 cuts. There's nothing exciting about this throw, but it's a deep out from the far hash that he puts right on the money despite not having the greatest arm. So I think it tells again just the story of Mendoza and who he is and why he's so effective when he's on his game.
Yeah, it's an NFL throw, right? It's a opposite hash to sideline. A lot of college quarterbacks struggle to make this throw. He doesn't, right? And it just continues to tell the story that he does have an NFL-worthy arm.
Yep. And so heading to the next play here, this one's also pretty simple. He's not robotic, which you like, and sometimes you see in a lot of big quarterbacks. Look at how quick he made the decision to run here. When you see green grass and you just feel the defense with their back to you, just go ahead and take off here. All right. You got the motion, you got the man coverage here. Safety takes his eyes off you. Big lane opens up. All right. You got man across the board here. Just go ahead and take off. That's all. Just pick up 17, 18 yards here. And now you have 1st and goal near the goal line. He didn't sit and wait and try to be a quarterback and just go through, all this progression. Oh, it's there. Okay, fine. 17, 18 yards here. It almost looks like it's a designed run with how quick he takes off because of the parting of the seas. But it's
that
really
was the question I had on this play, Ray.
Yeah.
That was the exact question. It's like, I don't know how much credit we give, right? Like, is this a designed play where, hey, if your read one isn't there, we are designing this where your blocking is going to open up a lane for you. If it's there, take it, right? Or is this him recognizing an opportunity mid-play and actually creating for himself, which is something I mentioned earlier that I didn't see a ton of, and I'm curious on this play, is this designed or not?
I almost think it's not, just judging by the posture of the receivers. They're still breaking pretty hard to the outside there, to the corner in particular. You even got at the top here, it might be cut off, but he's kind of taunting the Oregon corner on the ground. I think this was a pass play that he just decided to take off when he saw all this green grass in front of him.
Yeah.
Could be one read and go, could be, look at what I got here. I'm just going to go ahead and take this because why the heck not? Unless the ump is going to tackle me here. Yeah.
You almost see his eyes recognize the space and light up, right? And like, that's that makes me think you're right that it was him being creative. And if so, this is a great play in his favor.
Yep. Agreed. So unless the ump was a linebacker, there was nothing stopping him from getting inside the 5 there. Again, I like the processing here on this next play. We're going to see here. There's a motion just before the snap here. He's going to read the curl flat here, and it's completely locked up. The curl route here does not pick off the linebacker who drives on the flat route here to the tight end. Okay, and then he's going to go back to the field side. Nothing really there, not a clear picture, nothing he likes. So he's going to go ahead and just dump it off to the running back, take what the defense gives him, let him get some yak, and you got another 20 yards on the road in a big game against a great opponent. I mean, it's not flashy, it's not sexy, but it gets the job done. It's exactly what you want your quarterback to do. And again, if we're just going to count Mississippi here, this is out on 3rd Mississippi. 1, 2, 3 Mississippi. It's out. It's exactly what you want your quarterback to do when the defense kind of has answers for your concepts. He's not hesitating. He's not holding the ball longer than he has to try to make something happen out of structure. He's not trying to make a play that's not there. He's going to play within the confines of the offense, take what the defense gives him, and let his athletes go ahead and be athletes. Puts the ball where it needs to be so the running back can turn and run with the ball on a simple ho-hum check down. But it's quick decision-making and processing that allows this to happen, even if the throw is just, a run-of-the-mill check down.
That's NFL level stuff, right? Like that's exactly what we want to see is a guy that can go through a full progression. This was an example of an actual full progression, in my opinion. He goes left to right, like you said, and he did the smart thing, which was go to your safety route, right? You have the running back underneath, drop it off. But both things can be true, right? Like you also have to think about how, I was thinking about last year's class and comparing him to some of the guys we saw and saying, hey, this is the best processor that we've seen in either class. Like going through a progression probably does it better than anyone in last year's draft. But at the same time, I don't know if I saw many quarterbacks with a pocket that clean consistently like Mendoza got this year in Indiana. But again, another thing can be true, which is he also went through that progression with NFL speed. You mentioned it. He got that ball out quick. He went through it 1, 2, 3, ball's gone. That's what makes a difference, right? He didn't just sit there and keep counting and keep going through it and then drop it off because he had that clean pocket. It was kind of that NFL rhythm, which is exactly what teams are going to want to see.
Yep. Exactly what you look for, number 1 overall pick. And now I think anyone who remembers this game figured this was coming. We're going to go ahead and just let it run and talk about it here. But this is Mendoza dealing with some pressure again, and not what you want to see here. Pick 6 for Oregon. Don't want to do this on the road. I believe when you're up a touchdown already and your defense is playing well. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start it and just talk about it from the top here, and then we'll see both angles. So again, he's got pressure kind of in his face up the middle. Just that's obviously not great from your lineman here. It's in the face. There's really nowhere for him to go, but sometimes you just have to eat it. I think the crossers here were designed to maybe free up the receiver more than they actually were. And he throws now off platform because of the pressure in his face, because there is a bit of a step here. There is an opening and a window to throw this ball, but there's pressure in his face. He's hit as he throws. He's throwing it off platform. You can't get enough on that unless you're one of the true 3 rarest arms in the game today to fit that ball in there. That allows the corner to come back or to catch up to the ball, undercut the play, and bring it back for a touchdown. Again, sometimes you just have to eat it. Yes, there was a bit of a step before, but you can't get enough on this throw. It's going to float. It's going to flutter, and that's going to allow NFL defenders, just like it did here for Brandon Finney at Oregon, to make a play on the ball. And now you have a tie game when you were up 7 on the road, and now things are getting pretty tight. So this, again, is just an example of not dealing with pressure the best here, trying to make something happen that you really didn't need to, and not necessarily having the elite tools to get away with it. But again, I mean, there's maybe 3 humans on the planet, if that, who could get away with something like this. So again, just letting it run here. Sometimes you just got to eat it. Just take the sack and, live to fight another day or punt the football. Your defense is playing well. It's 20-13 on the road. Don't give them a freebie, and that's what happens here.
You know what's funny, man, is I don't hate the decision There's a few things that kind of bothered me. One, if you go back, I think 3 of his offensive linemen are laying down when he's throwing the
Oh,
ball.
yeah, it
Like
was bad.
they're on the ground, right? So like he's kind of up against it. And to your point, right? If you're in that situation, don't make a bad decision, right? Throw it away, take the sack, do what you need to do. But if you go back actually just like 3 steps from where you are today, right now, number 4 almost gets picked by the ref there, right? And there is separation. Like there is a bit of separation where I think if Mendoza gets this out now, he probably has that there for him, right? And if he leads it maybe a little bit more and there's better ball placement, I don't think it was the wrong decision. I think he made it a second too late. I will also say, with how friendly his pass catchers were, this one as a quarterback bothers you, right? Like you make that throw, your receiver is drifting away from the ball, trying to get upfield. It's like, no, come back. Like you see me under pressure, come back. Like come back to the ball where I'm putting it and try to fight a little bit, right? Like I don't think the receiver felt that DB there at all. And I think if he did feel that DB there, he probably kind of steps forward and tries to at least contest it. He didn't do any of that, right? So as the quarterback, I understand I didn't make the best throw. I was in a tough position. I want my receiver to play a little bit harder for this ball, and I want him to see that I'm under pressure and maybe start working back to me. And that's not what happens.
It was there momentarily. But it's tough throw. Yeah, bad things happen. But how do you respond to these bad things? People love Mendoza for a lot of the intangibles. So this is the first pass attempt back. I'm not rattled. I'm not flustered. I'm just going to go back to taking what the defense gives me here. And yeah, just take the free 6 yards. If you're going to show man and give me that kind of cushion at the top here, then yeah, I'm going to take the hitch. I'm going to take it, get my offense back in rhythm. It's still a tie game on the road. No panic, no frills. Let's just go play football. What's that motion here, Chris? I know he wants to snap, but I don't know what we're doing here. Yeah, that's NSFW. But again, yeah, quick, just snap, throw. Thanks for the free 6 yards.
Yeah, you take that every time. I think you're right. But it's also good coaching, right? Like there's no better way to get your quarterback back into rhythm than going to a rhythm throw. And that's what they did here. It was there for them. They took it. Again, it's great.
Signetti's a heck of a coach, man. You got to give it to him. So here we are by the goal line here. Again, tie game, looking for a big win on the road. Again, slightly bothered by pressure. Nothing's there. No matter what he does here, the play's not there. This is going to result in a throwaway. But again, the eyes. He's not looking at any receivers right here as he bails from the pocket. And then he kind of whips them back upfield. Again, there's never anything there. The result of this play was not going to change. But this is now the second time bailing to his right. You could see it from both angles. Even if just for a half second, he drops his eyes and kind of tucks the ball almost to just kind of get out of there as fast as he can, I guess, to gain a bit more speed. He's not keeping his eyes up the whole way when he's flushed out, even just for a half second. Again, it may seem like we're harping on the smallest of details here, and we are, but football is a game of inches for a reason. These inches matter, and that split second can result in the gain or loss of some of those important inches. So on this play, it's not there, but again, just keep those eyes upfield. And again, just look a little bit less bothered and a little bit more comfortable when that happens, because the plays aren't always going to be there and they're going to end up in throwaways. And I'm glad you did throw the ball away. That was a good decision, but the process wasn't necessarily perfect on this way, because you see a little bit of sort of the concern or just the being bothered by some of this pressure a little bit here when he's rolling to his right.
Yeah, I want to see him trust his athleticism more, right? That's what it goes to, right? You can't keep your eyes upfield if you don't trust your legs that are underneath you, and I think that's what happens here. Good decision at the end of the day. It wasn't a big deal, but that's going to be a consistent thing for me.
Yep. But, okay, that was second and goal. Now it's third and goal. Third and goal from the 8. Tie game. What are we going to do here? And, again, just perfect ball placement from the far hash yet again. This is what people love about Mendoza. Far hash throw, just grip it and rip it. that's money. You can't put it any better. The timing is just absurd. The timing is absurd of this throw, and the placement is exactly where it needs to be. Touchdown to the front pylon. Now you got the lead again. You're trying to call game on the road against the Oregon Ducks. It doesn't get any better than that as far as a response go. Not a push off either. That's a heck of a throw from the far hash. Timing is perfect. This is what we love to see from Mendoza.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. They were bringing the house on him again, and he stood in there. He's not afraid, right? Like I will say that, right? Maybe he doesn't trust his athleticism, but he definitely trusts his toughness, and he will stand in a pocket and take a hit if he has to for the betterment of his team. And he does that here for a really big and important touchdown, which is going to make coaches salivate.
Yep, I think that's all we got. I think that was our 10-play film session for Mendoza.
All right, so Fernando Mendoza, let's get into kind of the numbers. 22 years old, we talked about it. Indiana QB, he's a true junior. He spent 2 years at Cal before he transferred to Indiana. At Cal, wasn't outstanding, right? I think people did have him on their kind of NFL radar, but he was definitely not a surefire first-round pick by any means. Maybe not even a second or third round pick in a lot of people's eyes. So in that 1.5 year as a starter window at Cal, 27 big time throws and 32 turnover worthy plays before again transferring to Indiana. Let's kind of focus on the Indiana year though for a second. So 3,536 passing yards, 41 touchdowns, which was the most in the NCAA this year, 6 interceptions, 61.6 offensive grade, which was third in the country, 90.7 passing grade, which was third in the country, but 70.6 grade under pressure, which I want to talk to you about in a little while, fourth highest in the NCAA with 9 touchdowns under pressure, which was second most. 85.2 passing grade when blitzed, 74.0 running grade, 23 big-time throws, which was actually tied for 19th. So something, again, I want to talk to you about. 12 turnover-worthy plays, 9.8 ADOT, 18.9 pressure to sack rate, and 2.67 time to throw. So that's just some of the numbers that can kind of help us start this conversation.
Yeah, I think he definitely took a big leap. And people sometimes get caught up in that. Well, why wasn't he so big time? You know, I didn't hear about. I wasn't hearing about him 12 months ago. So is he the real deal? Kind of. I mean, Joe Burrow had the same type of ascension, right? It took him a while to get going. This is kind of that same arc. Kind of the same thing with Dak Prescott as well. Those are 2 names I mentioned in the review, and I think 2 names that kind of fit well with Mendoza. I think he had a lot of answers to a lot of the problems that defenses were putting in front of him. And that's part coaching and part just being a veteran and a quick processor, which Mendoza was. And when you put those together with a veteran offensive line, with a veteran receiving group, great receiver, sort of quarterback-friendly targets like Elijah Surratt, you're going to get a really well-oiled offense here with a strong running game. And Mendoza took every advantage of it. He put the ball in harm's way. I think that year-over-year sort of rate change in turnover-worthy plays was the biggest leap that he took in his game from 2024 to 2025. He cut down on those big time. And sometimes that's all it takes. That's the difference, obviously, between winning and losing, but sometimes between just being a mediocre starting quarterback and being one of the top 8 names in the NFL for 10 years, just not making the mistake. And I think Mendoza does a great job of not making that mistake more often than not.
There's a lot to like about his game. The biggest thing to me is that under pressure rate, because that is something that NFL teams look at. And when you think about the offensive line that he had, and maybe he wasn't under pressure as often as other people were, but when he was, this is a guy that really rose to the occasion and played very, very well. So that's something that sticks out to me. I think another thing, Ray, something I look at, you could tell me this is fallacy, this is nonsense, take it with a grain of salt. A lot of times when I have a quarterback like this that comes up, I look at the surroundings and I say to myself, is there a guy in this offense that's going to be a first-round pick? Is there 3 players that'll be first-round picks, right? Like Joe Burrow played with Jamar Chase. He played with Justin Jefferson. Like that was an elite situation for Joe Burrow to be in. And he still was great, but that's not the case for everyone. There's always this debate, right? Like was it Johnny Manziel and Mike Evans was like the wide receiver quarterback duo, right? It's like, was it Johnny Manziel? Was it Mike Evans? Was it both of them? But there's a lot of examples of that. For Mendoza, I kind of sit here and I go to myself like, who is it? Is there anybody else that it could even possibly be? I think right now the receivers on his team, they were good. They're projected to be maybe mid-second round picks. I don't think there's anybody on that offensive line that's even projected to be a first round pick. I think the credit really has to go to Mendoza.
Well, I'll just say we'll see about Surratt. We haven't studied him yet, but from what I've seen, I really like him so far. But
I do too.
Yes, Mendoza drove that bus for sure, because I think the biggest tell of that is basically what you're getting at is the sum of the end result was greater than the sum of all the parts on offense.
Yes.
That doesn't happen if the quarterback is making mistakes or the quarterback is not sort of getting everything right before the snap, during the snap, after the snap. It's all that quarterback is the what's that word? Synergistic. Synergy.
He's the stir, baby.
Synergistic.
He's the straw that stirs the drink.
Exactly. That's what I mean. A lot of words that begin with S. That's Mendoza. He's the one that brings it together and is sort of that force multiplier. That's another word, Chris, or two words. Yeah, force multiplier. Mendoza is a force multiplier. That's what it is, because if he was still a talented quarterback who's 6'7" and could run pretty well and, can make some plays here and there, but he turned the ball over at a higher rate, things would look a lot different, because there are no stars on that offensive line there. Like you mentioned, right? It's a veteran group. It's a solid group, but we saw in the national championship game at times, that line was really stressed by better talent like the Ruben Baines, the Akeem Messidors. So if he put his team, sort of behind the sticks, so to speak, off script by turning the ball over, and then they got to play catch up and they're a little bit stressed, that's when you could see those mistakes happen. And Mendoza just by and large hardly ever did that. And when he did, like we showed you in the breakdown of the Oregon game, he came right back and led a drive down the field and threw the game-winning touchdown pass. And then from there, the defense got another takeaway, and they put away the Ducks for good. So even when he does make that mistake, he in particular responds. That's exactly what you want to see from a quarterback. So He is that force multiplier, the straw that stirs the drink, as you said.
Yeah, and I think let's kind of break down some of our observations on like what he does well and what he doesn't, right? So we talked about the processing skills a lot during the film review. I think that's the thing that sticks out to me the most of my most, the skill I like the most for Fernando Mendoza. Those processing skills to me are already above a lot of the young quarterbacks in the NFL today. It's funny because, right, like we had Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Drake May, all deep in the playoffs this year. Drake May going to the Super Bowl, and the guy that made it, Drake May, might be the best processor of that group, right? Bo Nix gets hurt, so he doesn't get to make it, but like Bo Nix is a pretty good processor as well. Like to me, the guys that are playing deep in the playoffs are the ones that process well. Caleb Williams got knocked out. I think that's still something he's kind of working through, and it's a struggle for him. But the guys that really do well are guys like Fernando Mendoza that process. I think another great example is CJ Stroud, who again went deep into the playoffs, a guy that processes extremely well as a young player. To me, those are guys that have success at the next level at a very high rate. So that's number one for me. I think two, his arm is strong enough to be like average to slightly above average in the NFL level, like probably not better than that. Like he's not, he's no Michael Penix, he's no Bo Nix, he's no Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes by any means, right? But it's good enough. It's definitely good enough to get him to that next level. I think accuracy, he's mostly a very accurate passer. There's those one or two throws that you go, could be a little bit better. We talked about that one that got intercepted for the pick six when he was under pressure. But to me, those are rare. I think this is a guy that is very accurate. He could touch any corner of the field. Did I miss anything? What else really separates this guy?
You might have some people coming after you for that CJ Stroud take, but I think I don't think process
Wait,
is necessarily
why?
Stroud's issue. But CJ Stroud's like a meme right now. Like he's a whipping boy right now. But
He had one terrible game.
is
Right,
he could still process, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
other issues there, as far as like dealing with pressure and otherwise. But that's basically the summation of Fernando Mendoza. That's, John Madden, rest in peace. 90% of the game is half mental. He's got that 90% just down as well as you could reasonably expect a young quarterback to have at this stage of the process. Mendoza has it. He with setting protections, recognizing what he sees, and making the quick decisions based off of what he sees. He checks all those boxes, and those are the biggest boxes, like you said, when it comes to young quarterbacks, because too many people get infatuated with the elite arm talent, the elite body, the elite strength, the elite size, the elite mobility at times, without those intangible processing skills. And that's when they get burned, because, Josh Allen did it once, so why wouldn't I draft Anthony Richardson in the top 5? And why wouldn't I draft Will Levis at the top of the second round, all this other stuff? All those things that those other players lacked, Mendoza absolutely has. So if there's a left tail outcome in his career and he does not make it, it won't be because of those, sort of mental traits or hurdles that other quarterbacks have dealt with, because he's got it between the years.
Absolutely. And to me, the biggest kind of knock I have is his athleticism and his ability to trust it. But when you go and compare his game style to quarterbacks that we've seen, I look at Kirk Cousins, I look at Jared Goff, I look at Eli Manning, and I kind of say to myself, like, all of those guys probably were similar in that they were slightly awkward with the way that they moved, when they had to. A little bit awkward, a little bit
Eli Manning
clumsy.
Only slightly awkward.
All right, Eli incredibly slightly, but honestly, I think Mendoza is a little bit closer to Eli than he is even a Goff in terms of athleticism.
Ooh,
like it is a little bit awkward. Like when I watch him, it doesn't look smooth. It doesn't look like something that, to me, at the next level is going to be a factor in his game. I think he's going to really have to trust himself in the pocket. But all of those guys are like tremendous successes, right? Like Eli has multiple Super Bowls. Goff has played in a couple, big games like that, NFC championships. That's a really good football player. And I think if you took one of those guys with the first pick overall, especially in a draft like this, where we're not even sure there's going to be a second QB in the first round, that's like a huge win, right? To me, that's a huge win.
All right. So I think I found our point of disagreement. I think he looks awkward because he's 6'7". So it's just going to look awkward when he runs.
Don't do the thing when you say 6'7". Yeah, that skeeved me out. We're too old.
I think it just looks awkward because he's 6'7". Because I think if you look back at that one run where he did take off up the middle, it was literally 5 steps and he got 18 yards. So it just looks bad, but it's still effective, I think. But to your point, because of his height, the initial acceleration and sort of the light-footedness within the pocket isn't necessarily there, despite him maybe even running a good 40 at the combine. Who knows, right? Because of those strides and everything else. He may be more fast than quick because of his long strides. Right. So in those sort of short area bursts and in those phone booths where you have to navigate and maneuver in the pocket, sometimes he may not be as effective as others that may be perhaps less mobile, quote unquote, than he is. They may be more effective in the pocket than he is because of that sort of just differential there. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The other thing I want to see more, and like I kind of previewed, this is probably just part one of a multi-part series of Fernando Mendoza. Once we get some of the championship run and playoff film, we'll look a bit further into that too. The one thing I didn't see consistently anyway, at least thus far, is the layering of the throws. We saw a lot of great timing to the sideline, whether it's an out, whether it's a comeback, a hitch over the middle, whatever else. The timing on those is great. I want to see if he can put it over the linebacker and in front of a safety over the middle of the field. Does he have that next level touch on some of those throws? We didn't see that against Oregon. And he didn't really have to, because some of those throws are a bit risky. He didn't really have to do that the first half of the season either. So that's a part of it also. But I want to see if that's a part of his game that's either there or that needs to be developed and evolved. That's number one. And then number two, I mentioned it in the previous episode too, and I think we'll look into this a bit further during that playoff run. What does he look like against those tight man coverage windows? Because most teams couldn't do that against Indiana. They couldn't play tight man and pressure his line the way Miami did in the national championship game. And there was a quarter and a half or so where that offense struggled because of it. I want to see some tight man coverage window throws a bit later on when we dive deeper into Mendoza. But when it comes to timing, those routes to the sideline and the intangibles and everything else, like we said, those boxes are checked, especially at this stage of the game for a young quarterback. But still want to see some of those other elements. What are they good? Are they not so good? Are they average? Can they get better? There's still some elements to his game I want to see and dive a bit more into.
That's an awesome point. And it's something I didn't think a lot about, but when you're saying it's kind of connecting dots in my head, right? Because there was something missing that I couldn't put my tongue on. And it's when I was talking about CJ Stroud, there is a lot of his game that I do see similarities in that. I think people underestimated CJ Stroud's arm strength, his ability to kind of go through a progression, his ability to handle pressure. Mendoza, I think, probably is going to face a lot of the same scrutiny, but I think they were both adequate, right? But CJ Stroud, the reason I liked him a ton was because he did a lot of those kind of layered throws and put it over different coverages. I didn't see a ton of that from Mendoza. So I agree with you. I'm excited to break down some more film on him and kind of flush that out and see if we do have that as a concern. And also, I want to go back to your little funny, CJ Stroud is a meme right now. I think Drake May, you could clip this if you want. I think Drake May had the easiest road to a Super Bowl of any quarterback I've ever seen. Okay. When we talked about Houston this offseason, did we think they were going to be good at all? Right? Like their defense obviously is good, but CJ Stroud didn't have an offensive lineman or a receiver like at all that we trusted to be a competent player. And they made it to the second round of the playoffs.
Okay.
Let's start there. And then we'll talk about how he then goes and has to play the Broncos, who I think are an incredible team, without Bo Nix. Okay. So like he had the easiest schedule for the regular season, I think, of any quarterback in the NFL. Obviously did amazing. And it's no knock on Drake May. I'm not saying this to knock Drake May, but I think like let's temper how good we think the Patriots are. I think they're in for a rude awakening in the Super Bowl.
You say it's the easiest road ever, but like people were just saying this like 2 years ago when Jalen Hurts played like a backup quarterback in the NFC Championship game and had like an easy road to the Super Bowl then too.
Yeah, but his team was very good. Like, do you think the Patriots are a very good team?
They're not a very good roster, but they're a very good team. At this point, you have to say they're a very good team.
They're a well-coached team. I think that's different.
The quarterback is the force multiplier. Okay, the straw that stirs the drink. That is Drake May right now.
I was hoping we talk about it. Did you watch the AFC Championship game? Did you think that Drake May was the stirred the drink? I didn't. I thought he was fine.
No, Mother Nature.
I don't think he was particularly good.
It was snowing. It was brutal. It was a snow game. What do you want him to do?
The first half wasn't.
Okay, the first half wasn't. Look, I have my own takes about. First off, the refs got it wrong. Okay, and that was the biggest call of the playoffs.
Yeah, you're right.
An incomplete pass. It should have been an incomplete pass. If it's grounding, it's grounding. But it was an incomplete pass at worst. They got it wrong. But then Drake May didn't have to do anything because it was snowing and whatever. Like no, don't knock Drake May. It's year 2. And look at where he is.
I didn't knock Drake May. I just said,
okay, you are not.
Did I think that he separated it for that team? Was he this value add player in that game? No, he wasn't.
That particular game, no, but everywhere else, yes. Because I think if you have a quarterback who's not such a threat behind that offensive line, things would look a lot worse. I'm just playing in my head right now that missed cut block from Will Campbell that Drake May gets killed. Dude, any league average replacement level quarterback behind that line, and the Patriots don't even make the playoffs. So yes, you got to give Drake May.
I do. I think he's awesome. I love Drake May. I think he's incredible. I think he gets destroyed by the Broncos if Bo Nix is healthy. I think I think this isn't a close Super Bowl. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, you're bringing it out early. You're bringing it out early.
Leave it in the comments if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe.
Yeah, amen to that.
We went off topic pretty hard. What other notes do you have about Mendoza that you want to talk about?
That's about it right now. I like what I see. I think that there's not. Sometimes when you watch quarterbacks, there's a 5-alarm fire that just goes off in your head immediately, and you should write them off. But what happens is a lot of times you'll go on Twitter, you're watching TV, and everyone's still hyping up these names, and you doubt yourself. You're saying, am I missing something here? Is something wrong? I'll give an example of someone who has a similar or an issue that I had with someone that I also have with Fernando Mendoza, but it's to a much different extent. Cade Klubnik, the quarterback for Clemson, was being hyped as the next, surefire first-round pick heading into this coming season or this past season. He was the next one out of Clemson. The very first time I saw Cade Klubnik play, he had some of the worst pocket presence I've ever seen this side of Sean Clifford. And it never got any better. And all we kept hearing was Cade Klubnik mocked in the top 5 of the first round, top 10. It's Cade Klubnik, it's Drew Aller, but those names were always there. And from the very beginning, I said that's a 5-alarm fire. That is a non-negotiable, just intangible that a quarterback has to have. And Klubnik does not have it. And not only does not have it, he is really, really bad at it. Mendoza has a little bit of an issue with that at times, but everything else he has more than makes up for it because of the quick decision-making and so on and so forth, the accuracy. So there's levels to all this stuff, which is I don't even remember where the hell I was going with that. I think I just wanted to slam Cade Klubnik. But I think the point is that what I see
Poor guy's trying to have a good day today.
What I see so far, I really like from Fernando Mendoza, but I think we identified some of those. You can't even call them holes in his game yet. It's just you haven't seen them consistent enough. So you want to see what it looks like when he's asked to do that sort of thing. And that's why we do this multiple times. You can't just review 1 game or 2 games or even 4 games half the time, right? You really have to, especially with quarterbacks, dig in because game plans week to week can be different. What he's asked to do against certain opponents, certain schemes can vary greatly. And he needs to be flexible and adaptable to all of that because in the NFL, that's what he's going to see over the course of a long season. So I think so far Mendoza's absolutely worth the hype. I think without a doubt, he's the clear 1.1 quarterback in this class and just 1.1 prospect probably overall in the class. But now it's just a matter of those elements of his game that we're waiting to see more of. Can that be the difference between him potentially being quarterback 4 through 7 for 10 years, 8 through 12, or 12 through 14 for 10 plus years? I think that's the difference. But I think by and large, he's a pretty safe prospect overall. But even safe prospects can be ruined by the wrong organization, and the Raiders are on the clock.
Oh, I love it. All right. We're going to play a quick game before we end it. That was a good ending. Like, I almost was tempted to just be like, yeah, let's mic drop it. Let's be done. But we're going to play a quick game before we hang it up. Ray, I'm going to call out 2 names, and you're going to tell me who you would choose if you were on the clock. And you're going to evaluate them as prospects, not what they are today, okay? You were on the clock, and it's Mendoza or Jackson Dart as prospects. Who are you taking?
Mendoza.
It's Mendoza and Cam Ward. Who are you taking?
Mendoza.
It's Mendoza and Michael Penix. Who are you taking?
Mendoza.
It's Mendoza and Drake May. Who are you taking?
Your boy, Drake May. I'm taking Drake May.
Okay. It's Mendoza and Daniels on the clock. Who are you taking?
Mendoza all day.
It's Mendoza and Caleb Williams on the clock. Who are you taking?
Caleb. Gotta take Caleb.
All right. So you have him as QB 3? Okay. All right. You heard it here, folks, people. You heard it here first, people. Ray, that was awesome. Love it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you haven't yet, please give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and X at all22_PFF, and give us a review wherever you watch or listen to your podcasts. Have a great rest of your day.
Go.